listening and watching this presentation. So,
well, definitely my pleasure. I'm always willing and able to talk.
Yeah, real estate investing is a talking business, right? Networking, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Mr. Ken, would you mind telling more about yourself? What exactly you have been doing, and how you started about real estate investing?
Well, I guess how I got started in real estate investing was my background actually goes back to civil engineering. I took that in college, but didn't really enjoy that too much. I enjoyed the civil engineering. I didn't enjoy working with people. Let me put it that way. And I fell back into my comfort zone, which was the family business, the campground at the time. So my wife and we ended up buying the business from my parents, and we operated that business for many years. Mm-hmm. And it was a great place to raise our kids, to work and whatnot. But you just start to settle in life, and you don't even recognize that you're settling, and all of a sudden time passes by to the point that you need to make changes. And that happened for me when both my parents passed away very suddenly in 1998. And it was a massive wake-up call for me personally, because at that point in time in my life, we were truly living paycheck to paycheck and didn't know anything different, weren't looking ahead. We had no savings for our kids' education. We had no savings for ourselves. And then all of a sudden I realized, crap, here I am almost 40 years old and I've got nothing. I need to make some changes, but I had no idea what to do. And while running the campground for all those years, we never made very much money. So I always had multiple jobs, like driving a school bus. I tried my hand at driver's ed. I would do snow clearing. And somebody suggested I become a realtor. So I did that from 90 to 93, not very successfully though. Because it seemed like everything I tried to do, they kept saying, well, you can't do that. That's not legal. That's not how it's done. And to me, it just made sense. But I got frustrated, gave up. And then, as I say, experienced this major turning point. So we realized we needed to do something different, but really didn't know what. And I spent a couple of years sort of floundering around. And then it all changed when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I don't know, my bookshelf here, I've got every book that Robert has written now. And after reading that book, it was just this huge light bulb went off in my head. And I realized that real estate was the solution. And it was just a natural fit for Joanne and I, because here we are operating a campground with 100 tenants. So the tenants part didn't scare us. And I had been a real estate agent, so I knew how to buy and sell real estate. So that didn't scare us. So we just jumped, I think it was ignorance. We just jumped straight in and not knowing, really in hindsight, not really knowing what we were doing, just jumped in and started taking action. And you can sort of say the rest is history after that.
I can agree, right? So more likely when you were, there's so many people reading the books, and I've been contacted on a regular basis. I have read, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki books. And unfortunately, some of the percentage of the people which they read that book, they never taken an action. So this is one message to everybody who are listening. Take an action, simple as that.
Absolutely.
I'm not encouraging, and I believe that you also, you're not encouraging to fire the boss,
no.
But to take an action, right? Simple as that. So, to be honest with you, that's my secret. I have never read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh man. Well, you know what? It's never too late, Eric.
Never read. Honestly, I have read other books, right? But
have you haven't read any of his books at all?
Sorry?
You haven't read any of Robert's books at all?
No, I read, of course, but not that particular one, right? So
right.
I've been reading on a regular basis. Part of the being successful business person doesn't matter in what kind of industry. You have to read a lot of books. I'm reading Donald Miller, Build a Story Brand, for example. Very good book, right?
Okay.
Very, very important, right? So, and RSP secrets too. I'm just reviewing again and again and again. So some of the books which I'm touching at this moment, but it's not about me, it's about you, Mr. Ken. Okay, so what kind of company are you running at this moment?
At this moment, we have 3 different corporations, 2 primary ones. So we have a property management corporation and we have a real estate corporation as well. And and then we do have some real estate in our personal name as well, because unfortunately here in Ontario, we have land transfer tax, and I refuse to give the government any more money than I need to. So I refuse to move anything from my personal name into the corporation because that triggers another sale. So one of my apartment buildings remains in my personal name. But yeah, we've got the property management company that we created out of necessity to manage our own properties initially. And we currently have 4 full-time employees that work for us to run that because the girls are very adamant that I'm not allowed to come into the office and deal with the tenants. They say I keep screwing things up, apparently. So, because I don't have patience for stupidity, and so.
Do you have any Polish or East European roots?
Scottish.
Scottish. Oh, okay. Not far.
But
straightforward to the point, right?
Exactly. Yes. Well, I don't have a whole lot of patience for that, and excuses. I don't have much patience for excuses either, and that carries through to my students as well. So they get to know not to whine and bitch in front of me because I'll call them out on it pretty quick. So.
Oh, I can give you a huge handshake, right? Take it or leave it, and don't bother if you are not going to take an action. Simple as this, right?
Exactly.
So something for everybody who are participating in these presentations to learn, guys. Take an action. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So, what kind of specialty or what kind of investment strategies you like the most, and why?
Well, after reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, his strategy is buy and hold for the most part. And to me, that's what resonated with me, just the buy and hold it for a long term. And it usually doesn't generate a lot of money up front really quick. So it depends what a person's needs are, because in real estate, there's many different ways of making money. For myself personally, the long-term buy and hold is a strategy that we have stuck with, and we're now starting to see the major rewards from that, because we are actually starting to sell some of our portfolio and or refinance some of our portfolio to pull some equity out in order to build something new. So I had this vision to build something new when I first started, and that vision has now come into reality because of that long-term buy and hold strategy.
Okay, and more likely you are into the multi-unit or residential?
I've done a bit of everything. So one of the things that I didn't touch on earlier was that we started investing, and we're investing for about 2 years, when I came across some free education events that I went to. And I was convinced to invest in those weekend events, which of course they upsell you into a full-blown course of about $40,000 plus. So in about a year and a half time, Joanne and I invested $80,000 in the real estate courses, which also included some personal development courses. And that really inspired me to take action. The personal growth was amazing for me. And because I was taking immediate action, and with my personality and my desire to teach, they asked me to come and work for them, the company. So I was actually a mentor with it was Wealth Intelligence Academy at the time. And then it was taken over by the Rich Dad Education Company. So at that time, I worked for both companies for just a little over 2 years. And I'm of the mindset and belief that nobody should teach anything unless they've done it themselves, without at least a major disclaimer involved. So there was a lot of things that were being taught that I knew nothing about. And I decided that Well, for example, if I'm going to teach rent to owns, I better do some rent to owns. Initially, I had no interest in doing rent to owns, but I started doing rent to owns and I got very good at it as well, and did quite well with that. But it's still not my interest, my area of interest. My area of interest is still the apartment buildings. So I've done it all. I've done flips, I've done rehabs, speculation. The only thing I haven't done is land development. That's the only thing I haven't touched yet.
Oh, I see. But you are planning to do so, right?
I am working with a local businessman to develop a piece of land, and my goal is to put 2 apartment buildings on it.
I've seen you, walking nearby that area and mentioning that.
I walked a lot. Yeah.
I follow you on the Facebook Live, though. One of the marketing strategies which everybody who are serious about, marketing themselves, they should utilize it on a regular basis, right? So.
Absolutely, and I'll be totally honest. It's not a it's not a medium that I am accustomed to, or like I don't follow a lot of people myself personally. It's just not something I do. I understand that a lot of people do, and if I need people or want people to follow me, I need to start to do that. But it's very uncomfortable for me.
Part of the game. Unfortunately, in current society where anyone is overwhelmed with the information and the lifespan of the interest is in seconds. So you have to provide good information or interact with people which they can help you. As simple as that. Marketing is important, guys. Whoever is doing, you have to generate, leads. You have to be exposed for doesn't matter which strategy you're using, wholesale, multi-units, whatever you do it. People, they have to know what you're doing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And actually, sharing the fact that it's uncomfortable for me just sort of drives home the point that as a real estate investor, you need to do what is uncomfortable in order to be successful.
Okay. Are you feeling uncomfortable now?
Right now, no. I enjoy this part. Put me on a stage in front of 500 people, not a problem.
I see.
On Facebook?
Yeah, we can try to put you on the stage. There's no problem.
Well, not a problem there. I love that.
You see, one of my challenges is my Polish root accent, right? So
yes.
Some of the people may not clearly understand me, but I don't give a damn. I just do whatever has to be done.
Exactly. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, and Facebook Live is one of the things which I do it on a regular basis. So are you working on the deal which we were mentioning, that development? Are you working on any other deals?
Currently, yes. I was just out in Saskatchewan a week or 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. So one of my investor friends brought an opportunity to me that he was not able to participate in because he had just bought a property himself somewhere else, but he came across this new opportunity, and rather than just letting it go and saying, sorry, I can't do anything, he put it under contract and he brought it to me to see if I would be interested in it. So he's basically assigned this deal to me, so he's making a little bit of money. And I'm working with a group of students where I will actually buy the property myself, rehab it over the course of the next year, improve the value of the property, and then I'm going to sell it back to the group of students that I have that I'm working with. So it'll become a win-win situation, because I'm not, my focus is new build right now. So this is not a long-term hold for me, but I love the opportunity to get it under contract, negotiate the deal, do the renovations, and then turn it back over to my students in a very creative manner so that they get into the deal with no money. And I'm able to make a good profit myself, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, win-win situation is very, very beneficial for everybody, right? And students, whoever will be partnering with you, they will know how to not make any strange and stupid mistakes, right?
Exactly. It's also interesting. I've never done deals with students before. I've always avoided it just because of potential conflict. But this particular group of students is it's a special group of students that I've created called our 4% group, and there's complete transparency, and it's a totally different level of student teacher relationship, and so it's been a lot of fun doing it with them. They're having fun learning, and the nice thing about it is I get to sit back and let them do all the work, and I just keep directing them. Yeah, do that, do this, and so it doesn't take too much work for me to do this.
That's perfect scenario, right? Yeah. You may be in the Mexico, right, doing some sandpainting, and they can do the legwork, right?
Exactly. I hope you're not listening.
That's one of my goals, to be honest with you, at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of the biggest deal you have ever made? Are you okay to share that?
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, I talk about it quite a bit. Well, I know this isn't exactly going to answer your question, but I'm going to answer it in 2 steps. The first step is the biggest and best investment I've ever made is in myself. Mm-hmm. Because if I hadn't invested in myself, the $80,000 initially, and I've since invested a lot more than that in myself personally, like I'm well over $200,000 of investing in education, personal development, et cetera, in myself. If I hadn't made that initial investment, none of these other investments would ever come to fruition, because it just gave me the confidence, the knowledge, the know-how to do it. And that translated into my biggest real estate deal was the acquisition of a 21-unit apartment building, which I lovingly call my butt ugly building. So anybody listening here today who's followed me before, they may have seen or heard about my butt ugly building. And I bought this building for $225,000 and ended up putting some money into it initially. I can see you're doing the math in your head there, Eric. The number. Awesome. So $225,000 for this 21-unit building, and it's coming up to we just had a 10-year anniversary on it, actually, when I bought it and financed it. And I will be selling that building next year, reluctantly, but I'm going to sell it. I have a willing buyer already, and I'm going to sell it next year because, again, it's to satisfy my desire to build something new moving forward. Mm-hmm. And this property is going to be sold for 1.55. So a pretty decent profit there.
Guys, did you hear that? I'm speechless. Get perfect.
So this one deal alone, after it's all said and done with the taxes and whatnot, I often talk about in my presentations of being told. I asked a financial advisor how much money I would need to retire when I reach 55 or 60 years of age, drawing out $3,500 a month, and he told us $1 million. And back then, in 1999, $1 million. I mean, our jaws just dropped. There's no. Keeping in mind, we had less than $10,000 in savings. So we were pretty discouraged and disheartened by that. But this one deal alone, I'm excited to say, is generating $1 million for us.
Awesome. Perfect. That's something which everybody should hear it as a perfect example. Yeah. You just take an action. So,
and the other thing, I just want to make sure that people, I mean, a lot of people are going to say, oh yeah, but that's a one-time, that doesn't happen very often. I'm working with a student right now in Edmonton who has a deal almost equally as good as this one.
From Edmonton?
From Edmonton.
Whoa. So how much per door? Just curious.
His is 24 units, I think it is, for $280,000.
In Edmonton?
He's from Edmonton. The property's 2 hours outside of Edmonton, but it's in Alberta.
Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah. So there's deals out there.
There are. Yep. My jaw is just So I see that you are, you love teaching, you love working with the people which they are, you want to share the knowledge, and that's one of the very, very important part of becoming, a mentor, supporter, person who fulfills them, by yourself, right?
Yeah.
How do you see it? What you're going to be doing? What is in the near future for you? What are your plans?
Well, my plans in a perfect world, building these two new apartment buildings with far less debt than we've ever had in any other building will provide us with a very comfortable retirement base. My wife is a very successful realtor here in our neighborhood, and she does extremely well financially, and she has no plans of retiring anytime soon, although most people, we're approaching the age where most people are focusing on retiring. We don't plan on retiring. So these two apartment buildings are going to give us that base that we can rely on. We can then start to play and do whatever we want without any concern of finances. And that's a huge peace of mind for us, because what I want to focus on is to continue the teaching, the education, helping other people. Not necessarily, well, I'd love to see people achieve the level of success I've achieved or more. I've got no problems with that at all. But even just having somebody buy one rental property can make a massive change in their life and their lifestyle. So just educating people about the value of investing in real estate, small or large, and helping them achieve that, that's what I'm truly passionate about.
Perfect. So, to be honest with you, everybody have challenges, right? Everybody has challenges. What kind of challenges you are facing on a regular basis in order to get where you would like to get?
Okay, so I'm going to challenge you in saying that people don't have challenges, they have excuses. And the excuses that they have are that, well, there's the fear of doing it. There's the lack of knowledge of doing it, and it's their own mindset is their biggest obstacle that's stopping them and preventing them from moving forward. Because each and every person, I don't care what their background is, I don't care if they're starting from zero financially, every person can do exactly what you and I are doing. The only thing that's stopping them is them themselves and their excuses. So I told you, I call it like it is. Now that may sound a bit harsh, and I don't mean it to come across as harsh, but I've spent a lot of time and money. John and I were just talking this morning because we've just finished our 4th year of a book study, and our book study group, we meet once a week, and we may have missed half a dozen times in the 4 years. And all of the books, well, not all, maybe 90% of the books are on personal development. And,
I see.
And we challenge each other, we grow, we push each other. And that's how you succeed. That's how you get ahead, is challenging yourself to do better, be bigger, be better.
Definitely, Ken. I don't know if you know what kind of hobby I do it on a regular basis, right? So.
Oh yes, rock climbing and diving and stuff.
Yeah, cave diving and explorations and challenging myself on the physical level, where I enjoy that. My health has improved drastically within the last years, and at the same time that puts you in the stage of challenging even business-wise, right? So I agree with you 100%, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you market yourself? How you developing, getting higher exposure, right? Because there is no perfect scenario for any business person, and everybody are facing a lot of challenges, and marketing is one of the primary keys in order to be recognized among people which are seeking your experience and knowledge, right? So would you mind elaborating more about that? Because that's very important.
Probably one of my biggest challenges is the marketing, because that's not my forte. That's and it's not that I don't believe that anybody. I don't believe there's. Well, what can I say? I could do marketing. Okay. I could also be a mechanic and tear my car apart and put it back together. I don't because I'm not interested to and I don't want to learn how to. So
Mm-hmm.
the same thing with marketing. It doesn't interest me. I understand the value of it, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm not good at it and I don't pretend to be good at it. So that's my biggest challenge. I was very fortunate when I got into the business, taking the courses, by taking the action I did to be invited into that inner circle and helping other students mentor and whatnot. And at that same time, there was a gentleman well known out west who called the rich dad of Canada, so I think Mr. Darren Weeks, and love him or hate him, I owe a lot of my success to him early on because he invited me out to his events. So I would I attended his events. He got to know me. And I remember the very first time I was sitting, I didn't choose to sit in the front row. It was the only seat left. And I was sitting front and center and he was looking at me and said, "Oh, I've seen you here before." And we started to converse a little bit. And he said, "Do you need money?" And I go, "We're always looking for money." He said, "Great." And he called me up on stage and that was my first presentation. And ever since then, once he got to know me better, he started to invite me out to more and more presentations. So he was very successful in marketing. Dave DeBow along with him. And that's how I got to meet Dave DeBow as well. We've become very good friends and business partners, Dave and I. So Dave leveraged my knowledge, my education and teaching to promote to all of these people who wanted to invest in real estate. So I've got a significant following out west, more so out west than I do here in Eastern Canada, because of that. And because of that, it just sort of has all grown from that organically, I guess. But I've hit this plateau now where, Dave and I are still very good friends. We do odd deals together, but he doesn't market me and I've got nobody professionally marketing me and I don't do a very good job myself. So I need to get back out there and either find somebody to do it or pick up the book and learn how to do it myself.
I see. Definitely something which is very important for everybody, right? And I can give you some of the feedback about Rich Dad, Poor Dad guy of the West. I was on the stage too. That was like 12, 13 years ago. He was doing the presentations and he showed that, like how that business person looked like, right? Okay. Yeah. And one of the funny things is at that time I had my BlackBerry and it was vibrating. So I wanted to turn it off because for the respect, right? And he has noticed that and he kicked me out from the stage.
Yes, you got caught. You got busted.
I got busted. But that's okay, right? That's just something which you will remember. And I very, very highly, respect Mr. Dave DeBow, right? Yeah. Very nice persona, and I definitely will be happy to have him on the talking same kind of concept like we are talking at this moment, right?
Absolutely.
So this is very, very small group of people, circle of influence. If you never met prior or before, you heard of that person or what that person is doing, right? And very, very importantly is as long as we will be spreading good information and encourage people to take an action, bingo, we achieve the goal, right, Mr. Ken?
That's correct. Exactly. It is a very small group.
Very, very small group. So on top of that, I would like to ask you what kind of suggestions, what would you like to tell to the person who is listening us at this moment, and what kind of steps, what kind of encouragement? Give them the, straightforward information, how they can start, what they should do it.
Yeah. Well, I would say it depends on where the person is in their investing career. So I'll start off by saying that the first thing to do is stop thinking about it and start doing it. And when I say start doing it, I don't mean just to go out and start investing in real estate without any knowledge or background or understanding. So if you have very little knowledge and understanding, get some courses, get some education. And there is a lot of education out there that you can gain with very little investment. And one of the biggest challenges I have with people is when they cheap out on the education. And I always use the scenario when I do a live event of saying, I've just given each and every one of you $20,000 to invest now. And I then ask people what to invest. And 90% of the room, 95% of the room will come back with, I'll invest in real estate, I'll invest in stocks, bonds, whatever. Very few people will come back with the right answer. And the right answer is invest in yourself. And that's what I talked about earlier. That $80,000 I invested was the absolute best investment still to this day that I've ever made. So get the education, get the support to help you, and get it out of your mind that you have to do it on your own. So many people have this Lone Ranger mentality that they have to do it on their own. And maybe you can do a deal or two by yourself. That's fine. But still, you're not going to be on your own. You still need to have a good team to support you. And that comes back to education again, because how do you know who you should have to support you? What type of lawyer, what type of realtor? The realtor is a big one. What type of accountant and building inspector, all of these people that you need to have to support you. Who are they and who should you be looking for? And how do you deal with all the negative naysayers in your life, especially if it's your spouse or other close family members? So you need to get yourself into a very strong and supportive environment. If your family is the negative naysayers, you want to get out of that environment. Maybe you don't want to divorce your family and your spouse, but you need to get out of there to grow your real estate portfolio. I can remember when I took the real estate courses, I didn't tell any of my family that I was taking the courses because they just wouldn't understand spending that kind of money. Just a waste of money. So that would be the biggest thing. For those who are already active, they've got some education. There's nothing that drives me crazy more than seeing the same people on presentations or at live events over and over and over again. I love seeing them. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love seeing them. I love interacting with them. But if they're not doing anything, that's the frustrating part. And they're coming back and they're just, keep getting the information and not taking any action. For those who are taking action and keep coming back, hey, do it. Because it's like reading the book twice, 3 times. You always pick up something new. But if you're not taking action, then again, that's nothing to do with the education and everything to do with you, the individual, and it's all up here.
Mr.
I can
Kim,
keep on for another hour.
You know what? I can tell you one thing. We have never had the pleasure talking about that particular topic, but you are just put word into my mouth, and I keep saying the same old. We're doing presentations on a regular basis, and you see same people for 10, 12 years. And the question is, so what have you done within that period of the time? Oh, I'm thinking about, yet I haven't taken an action, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Take an action. Simple, right? So, perfect.
Well, it's frustrating for people like yourself and myself, other presenters as well, because as I say, lovely people, and some of them are great friends, and but the challenge is they're taking up your space, your time, and asking questions and not doing anything when you could be sharing that same knowledge, that same information with somebody else who is going to take action. And that's where this small group of investors that I've worked with this past year, that's how we started to create the separation between them. So I'm focusing on, my group is called the 4%, because it's the old 80-20 rule. 80% of the people that go to an event do nothing or very little. 20% do something. Of the 20% that do something, I only want to work with the action takers in that 20%. That works out to be 4%.
Okay. Yeah. I'm doing similar thing. Street Smart Real Estate Investors. We're doing presentations on November very, very soon, right? On a regular basis, podcasts and everything, right? So bingo, the same kind of mindset. That means it's working, right?
Exactly.
So we were prior to the presentation. We were talking about you love to teach, right?
Correct.
Okay. So are you offering any courses, or what are you working in that field, and why you are teaching?
Yeah. So I have. So what I've done is I've taken all of the education that I've learned, and I've taken all of my experiences over the 18 years now, 17 years, I guess, and I've created 3 online courses, because one of the major stumbling blocks I've heard time and time and time again is that, well, first of all, the content or the education is US based. So this is all Canadian based. Everything I teach, I've done, and I do in Canada. And the second one is, well, it's so expensive. They want $40,000. And again, or more, absolutely. And I have zero problem promoting those companies, because the education served me extremely well. But you don't have to invest that kind of money in order to get the level of education you need to have this level of success that I'm experiencing. So I've created these online courses, and I have 3 of them. One focuses primarily just on apartment building acquisitions, especially larger deals, but the same tools, the same education is applied to duplexes right up to 100, 200 unit buildings. It doesn't matter. The second program is called Creative Real Estate. So one of the things that I have just naturally been drawn to is creative deals. I structure deals creatively. I make my offers creatively. I just think creatively and differently. So, but I don't see myself any different than anybody else. But anyway, so I created this other program where it's a creative real estate course. And then the third one, for those who want to get investing, but they find the big deals too overwhelming, too daunting. They've got too much fear and they only want to focus on the single family homes. I've created a course called 5 Homes to Freedom. And in that particular course, we just focus on acquiring 5 homes and getting the debt paid off as quickly as possible in order to maximize the cash flow as much as possible as well. So 3 very different programs. They complement each other. They're standalone programs as well. And each of these programs I offer online on the website, and they cost $2,500 each. What I've done since then, though, is I've got a couple partners, one being on mindset, and because one of the biggest things that I discovered in all of the courses, the programs that I taught, they talk about mindset, but they don't teach it. And you have to go to third-party sources in order to really experience it, or immerse yourself in books and whatnot. And we know how well people manage to do that on their own. So I've introduced my personal coach, very good friend and former student, Mark. So Mark and I have been working on creating a program together, and we're introducing a third partner, which I'm not at liberty to say just yet. But he's going to take our programs to the next level again. And the focus is to continue marketing my 3 education programs, but then from all of the students that join us in those 3 programs, we will have something to offer them at a very high level to take them to the next level.
Perfect. Gradual progression. That's the most important thing, right?
Exactly. Trial and error too. We've tried this, we tried that. That didn't work. This didn't work. So we'll keep trying until we get the winning formula. And I think we're pretty darn close. Yeah,
I cannot. I'm talking about Mark Friends. As you notice, I'm speechless at this moment because his educational resources, his personal approach to the problems is amazing. If you never heard of Mr. Mark, reach out to him. He is very, very, noticed on the Facebook or anywhere else. Watch presentations from our portal because it's amazing. Mark has helped me a lot One
Yes.
of the things, waking up in the middle of the night.
Well,
I'm just still struggling.
Mark and I talk twice a week, and we are business partners. And the funny thing is, we met through Dave DeBow because Mark was taking one of Dave's courses, and I came out to speak at Dave's course. Mm-hmm. And my wife Joanne was with me, which was pretty rare, but she came out with me. And Mark heard me speak, and decided right then and there he wanted to be part of my program, but he didn't have any money. So he committed to the program, and then had to figure out how he was going to pay for it, which caused a little bit of stress between he and his wife, Teresa. But he managed to do some assignments and came up with the cash. And he jokingly says he bought my friendship because he was so committed to doing it to get to know Joanne and I personally. We vacationed together. We are best of friends, and he truly is a magnificent young man. Because he just turned 40. Still a young man compared to me. But I mean, he is so wise beyond his years.
And a very, very humble persona. No doubt about that. And I heard that story from him personally, right? So he is bragging about that, to be honest with you, which is perfectly fine, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So, Ken, we will be, concluding this conversation. I do really appreciate your time and effort. It's privilege and pleasure having you speaking, and I'm looking forward, to build a good business and personal relationship with you. And whoever will be listening and participating, please don't hesitate to ask Mr. Ken any questions, because he loves sharing, right? You love sharing, right? About that.
Absolutely.
So, any final feedback, any final suggestions, and how we can reach you? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, the best way, I'll give you, my website is www.arcagroup.ca. That's ARCA group.ca. My contact information is on there. But you know what? I'm going to give you my personal email as well, because I have no problem talking to people anytime, anywhere. So my personal email is jkbeaton, that's Beaton, 59 @gmail.com.
Gmail, perfect. And whoever participating, as you can have a chance to watch the presentations, which will be recorded, participate, ask questions about Mr. Ken at our new venture, www.realestateInvesting.community. Mr. Ken, I do really appreciate your time. Respectfully, I am so blessed to have you, and I am excited to have a follow-up call with you, and to make sure that we can help each other and support and build the good business relationship. And whoever wants to jump on the board, I hope you can, help them. Simple as that, right?
Absolutely. I'll help anyone who wants to be helped and is willing to do what needs to be done in order to be successful. Thanks very much, Jack.